when a boat suddenly capsizes.
The boat's going down! Everybody off!
Skipper Steve Conway and 4 young crew are left stranded in the Gulf of Mexico.
I'm not dying in here!
I was terrified beyond belief.
Floating aimlessly without a life raft, they face exposure, hypothermia, and the threat of drowning.
Travis!
Steve must draw on every ounce of his experience to keep the 4 young men alive.
You've got to have a fierce will to live.
Come back!
Swim as hard as you can.
I can't do it! I can't do it!
Oh my God, what is that? Swim!
Skipper Steve Conway and the crew of the Cynthia Woods are preparing to set sail on an epic boat race.
Hey, where do you want me to put this food?
Behind the stove.
Steve is a vastly experienced sailor. A Coast Guard commander for 21 years, he has a lifelong love of the ocean.
Ross?
Yeah?
You got that halyard connected?
Yeah, it's all done.
When people get around the ocean, one or two things happen. They either fall in love with the ocean or they fall out of love with the ocean. And I can't really explain why it happens, but for a number of us who go out on the water, there's just an affinity, a feel for it that's like nothing else.
Where do you want the clothes?
Down in the drawers.
Steve's young crew today is a team of students from Texas A&M University.
Make sure that everything's secured.
I was real confident of the boat, and the crew were experienced young men who'd been sailing for a number of years, and it was looking to be a really great race.
Hey, Steve!
Hey. Is that it?
Yeah, we're getting there.
His right-hand man on board is a young sailor he's known for 3 years, 22-year-old Travis Wright.
I'd been sailing with Steve for 3 years at that point. An excellent sailor and a very safe person, but very experienced and definitely the leading presence on the boat. He was definitely fully in command.
As Steve bids his wife goodbye, he's all too aware of the responsibility he has for his young crew.
All right. Travis, can you do the stern line?
I was designated skipper of the vessel, and as such, the skipper is ultimately responsible for everything. It's not a responsibility that you take lightly, and it's not a responsibility you can walk away from.
For over 3 months, the crew have trained together in preparation for the 630-mile race from Galveston, Texas to Veracruz, Mexico.
Almost there. A little bit more.
The feel of the wind and the sound of the wind through the rigging and the feel of the boat in the waves is just almost addictive.
They sail 6 miles out of the harbor, and boat safety officer Roger Stone counts them down to the start of the race.
What time is it now, Roger?
Okay, 20 seconds, 20 seconds!
20 seconds, gentlemen. 20 seconds.
Roger was a very experienced sailor, very experienced racer, a really great coach. Just a great way of explaining to the young men and women what to do and how to do it.
We're coming up to the line!
Getting ready.
10 seconds! 10 seconds, guys! 4, 3, 2, yeah, we go!
Here we go. All right.
They soon break away from the other boats and head out into the high seas of the Mexican Gulf.
Just keep it pointed 180 degrees due south.
Steve Guy is the least experienced sailor on board and is relishing the chance to take part in a big ocean race.
Travis was sitting next to me, showing me kind of how to do things, and
Doing good.
I felt pretty good. You know, I'm in control of this boat, and it's just kind of a power rush because you're like, here I am on the open ocean, doing what I love to do.
Enjoying yourself, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone was ready to go, but you could also tell we were also in that competitive mood of we're wanting to do this right.
Here's a way to see how fast we're going. See? Adjust the sail and see how we go faster.
Okay.
As the race gets underway, the crew are in high spirits and excited by the challenge ahead.
Doing good.
Yeah.
For over 6 hours, the Cynthia Woods makes superb progress.
Everything was going great. The sun set, the moon was up, and I realized about 2 hours into the watch that I hadn't even got wet yet. And the first wave hadn't even splashed over and splashed me, which was unheard of to be out that long and not get splashed and get wet. So it was just an absolutely beautiful night.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
You want to do the topping lift a bit tighter?
Okay.
As dusk falls on their first night at sea, 2 of the young students rig the sails for the night's racing.
Ross, you're going to have to wake him soon.
Yeah, okay.
Below deck, Travis, Roger, and Steve Guy try to get some sleep before taking over for the night watch.
It wasn't my time to go on deck yet. I just decided, okay, I'll get up, I'll get something to eat, I'll go, shoot the breeze with the guys on deck and see what's up and start getting settled in. That's when it all started going downhill.
Finding water inside the cabin is not unusual, but Travis instinctively suspects something is badly wrong.
I opened up the floorboard, and it just came pouring in.
Roger! Roger! We got water! We're taking on water! Hey, Steve! Steve!
What's going on?
We're taking on water! Start the engine!
It's every sailor's worst nightmare. The boat's hull has a serious leak. Due to a previous incident, the keel, the huge balancing weight at the bottom of the boat, has cracked along its mount.
Joe, get ready to douse the sails.
Okay!
Skipper Steve knows that they're in terrible trouble, and they must drop the sails to slow down. But before the guys can get the sails down,
The keel of the vessel parted completely, came off, and the boat went instantly into the water.
The boat just laid over into the water, just completely horizontal.
All of a sudden, the lights go out. The engine shuts off.
What happened?
I don't know.
up on deck, Skipper Steve is clinging to the capsized boat.
I was hanging underneath the boat because it wasn't still up out of the water at that point, thinking it was time to go.
The boat's going down! Everybody off! Unclip yourselves!
In just a matter of seconds, the boat has completely overturned. Steve and the two students on deck escape the sinking boat.
Come on, guys. Hey, did you see anybody? No.
But Roger, Travis, and Steve Guy are trapped inside. And seawater is flooding in.
I'm not dying in here!
Yeah, I screamed it, I'm not dying in here. This is not where I'm gonna die.
Unless they can find a way out of the cabin, they are just seconds from being dragged to the bottom of the ocean.
Emotion's telling you at that point, you're screwed. I mean, there is no way out of a situation like this.
The water level is rising rapidly. Unless they can get out, they're just seconds from being dragged down with the sinking boat.
How do we get out of here? Through the hatch!
Their only escape route is a tiny hatch, but a powerful wall of seawater is pouring through it.
Are you kidding? Come on, it's the only way!
I'm sitting there thinking to myself, how am I going to swim through here? I don't even think an Olympic swimmer could actually get through this with all the water rushing through.
Let me try. Let me try. I can't do it! I can't do it!
We couldn't even hope to match the flow. I was hoping to grab the sides of it and force my way out, but the first time I tried that, it blew me right back.
Steve Conway can do nothing but wait for the three men to emerge.
I didn't really know what was going on down below, but my biggest concern was that Roger, Steve Guy, and Travis weren't able to get out of the vessel and drown.
Gotta get out of here, man. What are we gonna do?
I was terrified beyond belief. I don't even want to see what my face looked like at that point.
Take a deep breath. Go for it. I'll push you through. It's your only chance.
As I was trying to go down the second time, Roger grabbed my legs and pushed.
Travis! Over here! Hey, Travis! Travis! What about Travis? Hey! Okay, I got you! I got you! All right. Okay. Did you see Steve? Yeah, he's behind me!
You're next. Go for it.
What about you?
I'll follow. Come on. Do it now.
Steve! 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 Come here! Come on! Do it! Bring over! I got you! Okay! Hold on! Hold on! Hey! We got you!
5 of the 6 crew are now out of the boat, but there is still one man missing. They wait. But Roger Stone fails to appear.
Nobody knew what happened to Roger. Nobody had seen him come out the other side. We didn't know if Roger was in the boat or if Roger was floating off in a different direction.
Should we go back and get him? What do you think, Steve?
No!
I would have never let anybody go back in. In the situation we're in with all the lines out and underwater, there was no real chance that somebody would be able to dive underneath, get in there.
I could have gone inside the boat with absolutely no lighting whatsoever, felt my way around and never found him, even if he was in there, because there's too many nooks and crannies in that place. And I would have had to do it all on one breath of air.
He's an experienced yachtsman. He'll be fine. He'll stay with the boat.
The crew now have to focus on their own survival. Steve Guy has escaped the boat with no life jacket.
Travis! Travis! Go to the boat! Okay! Hit the ring! We'll go! Okay.
Skipper Steve sends the crew back to the boat to get the emergency flotation ring.
All right, hold on. Yeah, okay.
It was very crucial. We already knew that Stephen didn't have a life jacket. If he had the horseshoe ring, he'd have something to float with.
The guys have only moments to grab it before the boat sinks, but it's tangled in a web of matted ropes. Releasing the ring is an impossible task with their life jackets on.
Try it without your jackets! No, don't take off your jackets! Do whatever you can, but keep your jackets on! Okay. Wait.
Skipper Steve and the young student are being dragged away in the current. He knows he must take immediate action.
At this point, there's a couple of major things you try to do. The first thing you try to do is stay with the boat. The second thing you try to do is stay together. So in this case, Steve and I couldn't swim back to the boat. So I decided that it would be better for us to stay together. Also, I wasn't sure that my flotation was enough for both Steve and I.
Guys! Wait! Come here!
Skipper Steve orders the guys to abandon the flotation ring.
Need your help. Steve doesn't have a jacket. Let's stick together. Yeah, come here. Use your belts.
Steve decides their best option is to tie themselves together so that no one can drift off into the vast ocean alone.
Try onto this. Got it? Yeah.
Anything we could to make sure that Steve, Guy, was not going to come loose. Or if he did, he would be just a tug away. And we locked arms and legs to try and preserve heat. I mean, it's probably the most awkward position you can imagine as far as 5 guys together, but it's what we had to do.
As their boat sinks in front of them, all they can do is pray for rescue. But in the dead of night, and 60 miles out at sea, nobody knows they're missing.
Our chances of getting out of this mess are less than 10% easy.
The Cynthia Woods sank in just a matter of moments. And with it, all of their emergency equipment is gone.
The only thing you've got is the people that are with you and the clothes on your back.
The crew had no time to raise the alarm, so no search party will be called out until dawn. Steve Conway knows that if his student crew are to survive the night, he will have to draw on all his years of experience as a skipper.
Until you walk back ashore, you're still the skipper. And I was very conscious and focused on making sure that everybody was okay.
We're gonna be fine. We stay together. We'll be fine.
But adrift in the vast ocean, they'll have to survive in one of the most challenging environments on Earth.
During the first night, the immediate thought process, conserve your energy. You don't know how long you're going to be in the water. You don't know when somebody will show up to rescue. About every 3 to 5 minutes, the water would blow up our nose, no matter what we did, how we turned from the wave action. And you'd gag it up, spit it out, curse for a minute, and about 3 to 5 minutes later, it'd happen again.
Try not to swallow the water.
I can't help it.
Seawater contains 3 times more salt than human blood. It's so concentrated that swallowing just a mere pint can cause kidney failure and death.
You do not swallow salt water at all. You get that stuff in you, and it'll kill you.
I'm starving.
Really?
Yeah, when I get out of here, I'm gonna have the biggest feast.
We were just kind of talking, you know, saying, kind of joking around, you know, so what are you gonna do when you get rescued, you know? Oh man, my parents are gonna be mad when they find out we're here. Steve was like, well, don't get in between me and the bar because that's where I'm gonna be when I get picked up.
A beer is the first thing I'm gonna have when we get out. Joe, you still got your shoes on?
Everybody else had lost their shoes except Joseph, who had a brand new pair of Nikes.
Nothing's gonna take my shoes from me.
Steve and his men are completely alone in the vast ocean.
Hey guys, I can see something. Is that a boat?
On the horizon, they spot something that gives them a glimmer of hope.
You know, we're 60 miles off the coast of Texas. We are outside the shipping lanes already. Our best possible chance of rescue at this point in time is going to be a fishing boat that happens to be out here.
Save your energy. They're not gonna hear you. Wait, this might work.
They do everything they can to catch the boat's attention.
Hopes were really high, hoping that maybe someone on the deck would be like, oh, what's that little light flashing out there, and tell someone on the bridge what was going on. But that didn't happen.
Even if we do see somebody and trigger, you know, any of the signaling devices we all have whistles on our vests and lights and that kind of stuff. There is a very slim to none chance that they're going to see us and recognize us as people in distress.
But the boat fails to see them.
Shoot! I'll be honest. I will. I'll be honest.
As the night wears on, their thoughts turn to their missing comrade.
Where do you think Roger is?
He's probably on the life raft, chugging a beer. Raj.
Do you think he's okay?
He'll be fine. He's an experienced yachtsman. He knows what to do.
I think all of us kind of kept a hope that he did get out. I mean, kind of deep down, there was that, well, maybe he didn't, but it was always the positive that always came out.
At this point, we weren't talking too much. You know, that kind of died off. We just kind of sat there and did our thing, stared off into space.
About 3:30 in the morning, I remember thinking, we're floating along, we're all lashed together, 4 to 6 foot waves, and thinking that I really ought to be on a boat about 10 miles farther south sailing. It was almost dreamlike and surreal.
As they drift on the ocean current, Steve Guy spots something on the horizon.
Did you see that?
It's one of the many unmanned oil rigs dotted around the Mexican Gulf. And for young Steve, an obvious way out of the ordeal.
To me, there it was, and we're getting pushed down to it. It almost seemed like we were circling around it, like someone upstairs was saying, hey, look, guys, there's a platform for you. I thought it was worth trying to swim towards the platform.
You think we could swim there?
It's about 7 miles away.
How can you tell?
Well, when you're in the ocean, the line of the horizon is about 7 or 8 miles away.
And distance isn't the only problem.
So I have to realize that that structure is 100 and something feet over the water. And even if you swim to it, how do you get out of the water?
What do we do when we get there, huh? How do we get on it?
Travis was the student skipper and sort of second after me, so he was my rock that I stuck with as far as any kind of discussion about what should we do. Should we try to swim? Should we do this or that?
We'd be swimming against the wind. We use up all our energy. And for what?
It was kind of disheartening when the decision was made to just kind of drift past it.
Skipper Steve makes the decision to conserve their energy. They're now pinning all their hopes on rescuers finding them. But even staying put is no guarantee of safety. The Mexican Gulf is a shark-infested body of water.
Big sharks. Those are the ones you worry about. Tigers are probably the most risky. They get really large.
And it's not long before Steve's worst fears are realized.
I saw a triangular fin go by. None of the other guys saw it.
Desperate to ensure the young crew stay calm, Steve keeps the sighting to himself.
I'm certainly not going to say something that's going to unnecessarily concern them. If there's something they need to know, I was sharing it with them. But they didn't need to know it, then they didn't need to know it. For me, I think there was a sense of relief as the sun rose. I remember thinking, okay, it's light. And just psychologically, I think the light was reassuring. We could see more of what was around us. Less risk of something surprising us, certainly.
And with the morning light comes the hope that a search will soon be launched.
What's gonna happen is this.
I started walking the students through what would happen. We had a normal 8 o'clock call-in on our satellite radio. Every morning at 8 o'clock, I called in and said, here's where we're at, we're okay. And just did a daily check-in.
About 8 o'clock, they'll start listening for us. I figure about 8:15, they'll call the Coast Guard.
So, when do you think they'll send out a search?
Well, I figure about 10 o'clock, we'll see the first planes.
What if they don't find us? Will they stop searching?
Oh, not for a long time yet, buddy. I figure about 8 to 10 days.
This kind of a search, you just keep it up long past there's any chance of people surviving, actually.
But dawn also brings with it the intense heat of the morning sun.
The sun was out, none of us had caps on. Fairly quickly, we started to burn.
My God, it was hot as heck. It felt like being in a sauna. We were just boiling.
By midday, it's been 13 hours since the boat sank, but there's still no sign of rescue.
We should be seeing something. We should be seeing, you know, planes or hearing planes fly over, even at a distance. It was getting to the point where we were all very tired.
Steve Conway knows he must keep his crew focused. On the horizon is the oil rig, the same one they saw the previous night.
Let's swim for the rig.
Hope you'd agreed that that was a dumb idea.
Well, I changed my mind. With the wind behind us, I think we can make it.
Only hours earlier, they'd rejected swimming to the rig because it was just too far away.
Come on.
Having dismissed the exact same thing probably 12 hours ago, I clearly thought that rig was a good idea.
It gave us a focus, it gave us an objective, it gave us a sense that we were doing something beyond just floating to help ourselves.
The life jackets were very much starting to chafe on us and starting to really rub parts of our skin raw. So I, at one point, stripped out of mine and gave it to Steven.
I gotta get Steve my jacket. Oh, thank you, Travis.
The men swim for over 2 hours. But they're making almost no progress towards the rig. And the effort is draining.
It was the dumbest thing I can think of possibly doing in retrospect, because I was thinking that rig was probably about 5-10 miles away, but my perspective significantly skewed at that point. The energy expenditure of trying to swim against the waves and against the wind, you're not going to get very far for the amount of energy that you're going to put out.
Despite their desperately slow progress, the crew struggles on towards the rig. But exhaustion is not their only enemy.
Stay calm. Swim this way. You don't want to be on the wrong side of that. Come on.
We saw a Portuguese man-o-war, which is a jellyfish. Behind them will run anywhere from 20, 30, 50, 60 feet of tentacles stretched out with stingers on them.
The long, deadly tentacles are filled with venom.
As long as you stay away from them, you're fine. But you get stung by one of them and you're dead.
We saw him drifting toward us.
We knew we had to swim quickly.
Swim harder. Come on. Faster. Come on. Come on. Okay.
They finally escape the deadly jellyfish. But they've pushed themselves to the limit. Getting to the rig now is impossible. Exhausted and dehydrated, they're forced to abandon their attempt. They've now been in the water for over 14 hours, and the ordeal is starting to take a terrible physical toll.
By about 2 o'clock, it had been roughly 24 hours since I had last had any kind of food or drink, and I figured everybody else was in the same position. Fairly dehydrated from being out there in the water and sweating it all out all day.
The human body can survive 48 hours without water. But with the sun beating down and their skin exposed to salt water, the crew are succumbing rapidly to extreme dehydration.
One of the big hazards of being in saltwater is dehydration, which sounds totally backwards. You know, you're floating in the water and you're becoming dehydrated. Our fingers were just puckered up and just totally, you know, dried up.
Hey!
Finally, by mid-afternoon, The authorities have detected a signal from the sunken boat's transponder, and a full rescue attempt is underway.
The helicopter arrived late that afternoon, and we actually saw it hovering out off in the distance.
After withstanding 14 hours out in the ocean, it seems that their ordeal is about to end.
Go over here!
But the 5 men have been dragged by ocean currents, and they are now miles from the sunken boat. They can do nothing but watch helplessly as the search plays out in the distance.
We could see them the whole time. They just couldn't see us.
It builds you up and then it crushes you. Oh God, there it is. You know, this could be the one, and then it's not.
They're never gonna find us.
I just kind of snapped at that point.
Shut up, Travis. Just shut up, okay? They're gonna find us. We're gonna get out of here.
And it just sent me over the edge. It's like, how can you even think like that right now? You've got 4 other people here that all they need to hear are positive thoughts, not your negative thoughts, you know?
He's right. It's pointless.
The men now believe their hope of rescue is gone, and with the second night fast approaching, they fear death will take them one by one.
It was so late at that point that we all kind of were probably thinking the same thing. It's, you know, they haven't seen us yet. We're not doing well at all. Somebody's gonna be going pretty soon.
Come on. Come on, guys. Joe, come here. Come on. Travis, come here. Come on. Closer. Come on. In together. That's it. Good. Come on. We stay together, right?
A whole day, with no protection against the blazing sun, has pushed the crew to the edge.
The lower portion of my stomach was burned. My arms were burned, my legs were burned, and my face was burned. I wanted the burn to go away. Dear God, did I want the burn to go away?
As the sun drops, the temperature plummets, and the fight to stay cool turns into a battle to keep warm.
It was getting to the point where we were all very tired. I think I probably blacked out for a few seconds every now and then.
Come on. Sorry, closer. Sorry. Come on. Keep warm, guys. Keep... Okay. We'll be all right.
With light fading, the rescue helicopters begin to disappear over the horizon, and Skipper Steve drops a bombshell.
Guys, we may not see another helicopter until tomorrow morning.
Are you kidding? There's no way we can last another night.
I was deathly afraid of the impact of the young men I was with dying on their families. To be in any way responsible for somebody, a parent, losing a child, I couldn't imagine.
Let me tell you about a case study that I read. A fishing boat overturned. And a very fit 22-year-old football player died. But a 68-year-old grandmother survived. How come? Afterwards, they interviewed the grandmother and they asked, how was it your grandson, who was so much fitter, died? And she goes, I wasn't gonna give up. I wasn't going to die.
You've got to have a fierce will to live. You've just got to never give up.
The will to survive is the most critical thing for us to make it through. We must never give up, okay?
Never giving up was the critical thing for our survival.
But the will to live isn't enough to protect the crew from the effects of severe hypothermia.
Your core temperature starts to fall. Once it gets below 95 degrees, down to around 90 degrees, you die. You just go to sleep. It's not especially traumatic. You just fall asleep and don't wake up.
Joe started going in and out of it because he kind of, I guess he fell asleep. And he started reaching over and started grabbing Ross's face.
Joe. Hey, Joe, what are you doing? Sorry.
Ross, the smallest of the group, is beginning to drift in and out of consciousness.
Ross was in the worst situation because the rest of us are fairly big guys. Ross had zero body fat, so he had no insulation like the rest of us, and it was noticeably affecting him more. He wasn't talking at this point.
Skipper Steve has done all he can to keep his crew alive. But after nearly 20 hours in the sea, he too is now fading fast.
We'd all been out in the water the same amount of time. The bigger guys would have probably lasted an hour, maybe two more. But if Steve was going, we didn't have much more time either.
The 5 sailors have now been in the ocean for over 24 hours. They've done everything they can to withstand their ordeal. But they're losing the battle to survive.
You know, in the dark, it's kind of depressing. Just this vast expanse of ocean. I felt really small, you know. Here you are, you feel like a grain of sand in the world.
They've suffered acute exposure to the sun, extreme dehydration and hypothermia, and are now just hours from death.
Nobody was saying, oh my God, they're not gonna find us, oh my God, you know, we're gonna die out here. Nobody had vocalized it. But we all kind of were probably thinking the same thing.
Steve Conway has done all he can to keep his young crew alive. But now he knows that with no sign of rescue, his quest to survive has failed.
I was scared of what the impact would be on my wife. We'd been married at that point 30 years, and we're best friends and still very, very close. We've seen other people lose spouses, and it's hard. In no heroic way at all, but just matter-of-factly, as I was floating in the water, I realized I wasn't afraid of dying.
Drifting in and out of consciousness, the 5 men can now do nothing more but await death's final call. Out in the darkness comes the sight they've been dreaming of.
Then all of a sudden, every light on that helicopter came on.
The rescue search hadn't been abandoned for the night. The Coast Guard had tracked the ocean currents, which eventually led them to the missing crew.
Everyone just screamed it. I'm happy, we're going home.
It all really set in that it's finally done, it's finally over. We're getting out of this and we're getting out of it alive.
The 5 men were airlifted to the hospital, and they all made a complete recovery. But when the Coast Guard finally salvaged the sunken Cynthia Woods, they found the body of missing crew member Roger Stone.
Nothing we say or nothing we can do can honor Roger more than his actions of the 6th of June 2008 when he stopped, got those 2 students oriented out through the flowing water, out of the boat, ultimately at the risk and sacrifice of his own life. And so it's never appropriate to talk about this without recognizing Roger's sacrifice and the sacrifice of his wife and 2 children.
I would not have made it without Roger's help.
I do think about Roger, and when I do, it makes me want to go live my life to the fullest possible way, because life's short, and I realize that floating out there.
The only thing I decided to do different when I got back was that I was going to savor things more. Not the big things, but the little things. Over Christmas, I was holding my grandson probably for the 14,000th times, and I stopped for a minute and I thought, this is just wonderful. And my takeaway message as I hold him and have my daughters and my wife around me is life is wonderful. You just have to savor it. And that's what I'm doing different.
On Mount Everest, a climber slips into unconsciousness at 28,000 feet.
I was on the edge of death.
Unable to save him without risking their own lives, his Sherpa guides leave him for dead. But he's still alive.
Suddenly, I was in the real world, on this precipice.
Now he faces the impossible. To survive a freezing night alone, without shelter or oxygen, on the world's highest mountain.
It was so cold. There was a wind swirling around like a hurricane. I thought, well, this is when I'm actually going to die.
Mount Everest, the highest place on Earth. It's the holy grail for mountaineers and a lifelong obsession for Australian climber Lincoln Hall.
My fascination with Everest began in the 1980s. I became so obsessed with climbing that I just kept going as far with it as I could. And that took me to Everest.
In the early hours of the morning, he's going to make a summit attempt. But it won't be his first. 22 years ago, Lincoln got to within 1,500 feet of the summit before conditions became too dangerous and he was forced to abort his climb.
When I got down to the base camp, I was overwhelmed by disappointment. It was almost like a poison. I just couldn't let that happen again.
But now, aged 50, and with a wife and family, Lincoln knows that this is his last chance.
Having a family made a huge difference to Lincoln. Even though this had been his dream for a couple of decades, not coming back wasn't an option.
I'd just turned 50 and I was nowhere near my strength that I'd had back in my heyday. And I knew that the only way I was going to get through this was through the strength of my mind.
Okay, George, let's go, mate.
It's close to midnight, and Lincoln prepares to leave the pre-summit camp with his Sherpa guides. In front of them lie 1,800 vertical feet and an arduous 9-hour high-altitude climb.
I had a feeling that I was attempting the impossible.
And Lincoln knows that this year alone, 10 climbers have died trying to reach the summit. At a lower camp, Lincoln's close friend and expedition colleague, Mike Dillon, is monitoring his climb.
Lincoln and I had been friends for many years. She was one of the best climbers in Australia and a great friend.
Lincoln's left camp, Mike. Over.
We were expecting to hear, hopefully, good news.
Lincoln is now climbing in what's known as the death zone, an altitude starved of oxygen, where every step is a test of endurance.
Then the ambition starts to come in and the excitement starts to come in and the energy comes in, because this was my big chance. It was wonderful. There were stars everywhere and it just felt like you'd already left the planet.
As dawn breaks, he reaches what's known to climbers as the second step, the biggest obstacle between Lincoln and his dream.
It was just all that joy of the technical part of climbing combined with the world's greatest mountain. The mountains had started to take shape. We could see the ghostly shape of the summit pyramid. With the summit of Mount Everest within my grasp, the amount of effort I was going to have to put in didn't really matter, because I knew I did have that energy within me to get to the summit. Those last steps were really difficult, but I knew I would get there.
Lincoln has made it to the summit of Everest. He's on top of the world.
I could just feel this glow of excitement and of joy. It was just the most wonderful feeling. "25 years since I'd started thinking about Everest, and finally I was here. And just the immensity of the view, the distance that you could see, the curvature of the earth. It was just beautiful.
I was just walking past the communication tent when I heard his voice. Lincoln, it's Mike, over.
I can't believe we're here.
It was fantastic because Lincoln deserved it more than anybody.
Finally.
He was perfectly calm. It sounded as though he was ringing from the office.
Thanks, guys.
Just remember, though, you're only halfway there, okay? We'll celebrate when you get back, over.
Somebody has to remind you that although it's a beautiful view, get down is a crucial thing, and get down quickly.
When you get to the summit, you're only halfway there. Reaching the summit isn't being a good mountaineer, it's coming back home every time.
Lincoln knows they must descend immediately from the death zone, as no one can survive at this altitude for long.
The death zone has earned its name because it's at a height where your body is literally dying. With the shortage of oxygen, it's very easy to let a little error slip past you, and that can lead to death.
Lincoln and his guides now face a grueling 3-hour descent to get back to the pre-summit camp.
That extra energy that you had from achieving your ambition, suddenly you don't have that ambition and you're just filled with tiredness. Suddenly, I just felt exhausted. Then I became overwhelmed with lethargy. And I passed out in the snow.
Suffering from a severe form of altitude sickness, oxygen starvation is causing blood vessels to leak fluid into Lincoln's brain.
I couldn't live in this oxygen-starved environment for very long at all.
If he doesn't get up and get down the mountain fast, he'll die.
I just don't know what happened.
Okay. To base camp.
Dorsha, this is Mike from base camp, over.
Lincoln is down.
He's breathing.
At base camp, Lincoln's friend Mike Dillon knows this is desperate news. Lincoln is suffering from severe altitude sickness, or cerebral edema.
We started to be very worried because when you get cerebral edema at that height, it's very unlikely that you'll live.
Pressure is being put onto your brain. There's nowhere for that pressure to go, so it makes you go delirious and you die.
Is he talking? Is he making any sense? Over.
Negative.
Cerebral edema can kill people instantly, but we knew that sometimes it can take a little while.
Close to the summit of Mount Everest, it's impossible to bring Lincoln down.
No one has the physical strength to carry anyone down from that height.
Lincoln!
Helicopters can rescue you from ships, from being lost in the bush. You can be rescued from the water, but you can't be rescued from the summit of Mount Everest.
Over decades, more than 200 people have been left for dead near the summit of Everest.
Suddenly, I was back.
Lincoln!
In a sort of, I wouldn't say lucid state,
Breathe.
but I actually realized where I was. I was on Mount Everest.
He's getting up now. He's getting up.
Good work, Dosha.
I was lucid enough to realize that I really had to get down as quickly as I could.
But the fluid, causing pressure on his brain, is now leading to a dangerous loss of physical control.
I was going incredibly slowly. I could hardly walk. I was just so weak. Everything was difficult. I would tell my legs to move and they wouldn't. And I'd force them to move and I'd take the other leg and do the same thing. It was my mind that was driving me forward.
Somehow, Lincoln manages to make it back to the second step. But this means rappelling down a sheer rock face at 28,000 feet above sea level.
That's the dangerous place. It's a make or break it point, and often it's a place where people die.
And Lincoln's mental state is getting worse.
I was in a trance. I was just incredibly confused.
Another Sherpa is at the second step.
And I wondered what he was doing there.
A climber that he was guiding to the summit has died just below them. Already confused, the news pushes Lincoln over the edge.
It was such a shock that I fell to pieces. It was me battling the Sherpas. I was really on the very edge. It's an 11,000-foot drop. That's where I wanted to jump. I was trying to jump off the face. I had gone delirious.
Dorje to base camp. Do you read me? Over.
His guide radios Lincoln's close friend, Mike Dillon, at base camp for help.
Put the radio to Lincoln's ear. I want to talk to him. Okay, Lincoln, mate, it's Mike.
Can you hear me? It's Mike.
We were his friends, we spoke his language. Even though his mind was obviously irrational, we thought that we might be able to help.
Lincoln, you got to get up.
Mike is Lincoln's only hope. The Sherpas can't carry him down. But staying with Lincoln at this altitude could kill them too. If Lincoln doesn't get up, he'll be left to die.
Mike, hear me? Get up, get up.
Come on, mate, get up.
Suddenly I could hear an English voice.
You have to keep going, all right?
But it was Michael Dillon begging me to come down.
Lincoln, listen to me.
Come on, Lincoln.
Lincoln, you have to help the Sherpas.
To help you. Get up, mate. Come on, get up.
And that managed to get through to me, and suddenly
We're coming down.
I was back.
But now Lincoln must rappel down the treacherous second step. And this time, he's on his own.
And I needed to descend that using a rope, and there was a ladder. I started going down the rope.
Lincoln!
I managed to get halfway down. And then I started hearing voices. And suddenly, I became incredibly frightened. I just panicked. I was just incredibly scared. My immediate thought was that I'm going to die.
Lincoln loses consciousness again, suspended at 28,000 feet.
And then...
Lincoln, listen to me. Lincoln, listen to me. Your mind is not...
Hey, Dylan. Happy birthday, mate.
I was hallucinating.
Change your way, change your way.
There was sort of a silence. But suddenly, everything was wonderful. This amazing view. I forgot about everything else. I just started to feel this joy at this wonderful mountain scene with the warm colours of the late afternoon on the snow. When I realised where I was,
And here, we must go down.
pulsing with adrenaline, I rappelled down.
Against the odds, Lincoln makes it down.
And I just felt incredibly relieved.
Go!
The Sherpas took advantage of the fact that suddenly I was re-energized, and they kept at me.
Move! Move!
They just kept telling me to keep moving, keep moving, keep moving.
But vital time has been lost. And at this altitude, every second counts.
We knew that they'd run out of oxygen by now. We knew that meant all the effort of trying to get Lincoln to come down was exhausting everyone. It was probably the key factor that was going to kill Lincoln.
As the Sherpas desperately try to push Lincoln on, disaster strikes again.
I collapsed in exhaustion. I just had no energy. And I was able to move no further. I was actually felt quite pleased to lie there.
Lincoln, keep breathing. Breathe.
He was breathing very slowly and he was in a very bad way. He's lost all heart and hope, they put it like that. I remember thinking, he's a goner.
Lincoln. Lincoln.
The Sherpas put their finger into Lincoln's eye and he didn't respond at all, so he was in a comatose state. We knew that Lincoln wouldn't live because if you've got cerebral edema, you've been without oxygen and you're that high on Everest, no one has survived.
To be realistic, we have like 0 chance of getting him down. If the Sherpas stay up there, they could all die.
The Sherpas had put in superhuman efforts, but we had to realise that there was some point where someone would have to make the decision that to save their lives, we would have to tell them to leave Lincoln and head down themselves.
The Sherpas say a prayer and collect Lincoln's belongings to return to his family. Lincoln Hall is left for dead. Back at base camp, Mike Dillon has just received the news. His close friend is dead.
We were in shock. We didn't quite know what to do next. But we did know we had to tell Lincoln's wife, Barbara.
Hello?
Hi, Barbara. It's Mike. Look, I've got some bad news. Lincoln passed away about 20 minutes ago.
I just felt an incredible hollowness, as though really part of me had died as well.
I'm so sorry.
I just felt just numb. I just felt completely numb and hollow.
When it finally reached its ultimate conclusion that he's dead, then it's still a dreadful shock.
Three hours after being left to die, Lincoln emerges from his comatose state.
I felt completely disoriented. I was exhausted, dehydrated. I'd been left for dead, and I was still there. I was still alive. I very carefully looked for my pack, which had some really useful things like a warm thermos and a headlamp and some extra clothing.
But the pack has gone. Lincoln's guides have taken all of his gear to return to his loved ones.
My immediate thought was that I'm going to die. Having been left for dead with no shelter and no oxygen, how could I possibly survive up here?
Night falls on Mount Everest. And Mike Dillon has no idea his best friend is still alive.
I had to go to Lincoln's tent and pack up all his belongings, report to the authorities that he died. We hadn't really taken in Lincoln's death, really, to be honest. Your brain can't process this kind of information.
As the night wears on, the temperature plummets to minus 25 degrees.
It was so cold. There was a wind swirling around like a hurricane.
Exposed near the summit, Lincoln is now at serious risk of hypothermia. If he falls asleep, he will drift back into a coma and quickly freeze to death.
Staying alive meant staying awake. I kept telling myself, just stay awake, just stay awake. My mind was ready just to drift off into nothingness, into the warmth of imminent hypothermia. But I just couldn't let that happen. So I rocked my body in a sort of circular motion.
As the hours go by and the temperature drops further, Lincoln doubts he'll make it through the night.
My family's back home, and there's this aura of death.
As Lincoln barely clings to life, his grieving wife and sons are back in Australia.
Eventually, I fell asleep, and I had a dream that I could see Lincoln walking towards me very, very clearly. And he was smiling. And it was such a lovely vision. I just woke up full of joy that he was coming back. And then the awful truth hit me. I just felt incredibly cold and numb. And I could hear, especially our oldest son, crying himself to sleep.
By the early hours, Lincoln is losing the battle to stay alive.
I was so cold. I couldn't feel a thing. And then I realized, with horror, what I wasn't feeling. What I wasn't feeling was my fingers. And I recognized the wooden feeling of frostbitten fingers. My fingers were frozen solid.
But frostbite is not the only sign that hypothermia has now taken a deadly hold.
I felt too hot, and I began undressing.
Feeling too hot is a symptom of advanced hypothermia and a sign that Lincoln is close to death.
It was the beginning of the end.
At camp,
The Lincoln Hole.
Lincoln's friends pay tribute to him.
Lincoln.
Hundreds of people have died on Everest, but we thought it was never going to happen to Lincoln.
I had an hallucination. where I was wearing a really warm and comforting cloak. But that cloak was the warmth and the welcoming of my imminent death. And I thought, well, this is when I'm actually going to die. And then I had horrible, horrible recognition of the fact that I would not ever see my family again. I could not accept that. Because if I died, my family would be destroyed. Love was the overriding emotion. I couldn't wear the cloak of death. I had to find a way out. I had to come back to my family.
It's been 12 hours since Lincoln Hall's lifeless body was left to die. Incredibly, he's still alive. But alone, near the summit of Mount Everest, he's barely clinging on to life.
The earth was beneath my feet, and I thought, that can't be right. That can't possibly be right. This huge mountain can't be moving. Therefore, I must be on a boat. I was so contained in that bizarre world of hallucinations and loneliness and cold and death. I didn't know where I was. I knew someone was there. It was all very confusing because I'd been living in a very intense world of being alone and coping with that, and suddenly there were other people who'd come from somewhere.
Leading one of the very last climbing parties of the season, Everest guide Dan Mazur has found Lincoln by chance.
That was actually the last day that there was anyone else on the mountain. Those four final climbers would have been expecting to step over my dead body.
You tell me, man. He had this really kind of wide-eyed, very gaunt look in his face. He was not in good shape, you know, and 28,000 feet, you know, the human body is very fragile.
Severely hypothermic, and delirious from the swelling in his brain. It may already be too late to save Lincoln.
He kept looking at us and saying, "Oh, this is a brilliant boat ride we're on. What a brilliant weather for a cruise."
Dan recognizes the deadly symptoms of cerebral edema. He gives Lincoln oxygen to help alleviate the pressure from his brain, and chocolate to raise his blood sugar levels.
Suddenly, I was in the real world. I just didn't remember what happened.
Lincoln is pulled back from the brink of death.
Stand to sir. On 7 Summit. Team. Over.
This is 7 Summit. Stand, go ahead, over. We suddenly heard a guide's voice come on the radio.
You have somebody called Lincoln Hall with your team.
Lincoln died? He died last night. Over.
He's alive.
You're kidding me.
It was pretty amazing. We were still in a state of shock. We hadn't really taken in Lincoln's death, really, to be honest. And now we had this extra news to take in that Lincoln wasn't dead.
A team of Sherpas is quickly mobilized to rescue Lincoln. But they are 4 hours away. And Lincoln has already slipped back into a delirious state.
You can slip away into unconsciousness and coma and death extremely rapidly up there.
I was hallucinating madly.
He turns on those trying to save him.
He fought us. He took off his oxygen mask, he ripped it off.
I was trying to go back up the mountain. In fact, I was on the edge of death.
Finally, 2 Sherpas arrive from camp to try and bring him down. Already exhausted from a 4-hour ascent, Lincoln's life is now in their hands.
The Sherpas had no idea of how fragile I was. I could only get half a dozen steps. Before I had to collapse in the snow.
The Sherpas must now get Lincoln down 7,000 feet. Three hours since the Sherpas reached Lincoln, and Mike Dillon is getting anxious.
Lincoln was in a bad way. He was alive, but we didn't quite know whether he was going to ultimately survive. We thought he had a 50% chance of making it.
And as another night falls, Lincoln's progress is painfully slow. The Sherpas know that their lives are now on the line.
I was saying we have to go more slowly.
Move! Go!
And they were saying, no, you have to go fast.
They push Lincoln hard.
Keep going!
They were prepared to do anything to get me off the mountain.
I said go!
I could tell from the tone of their voices that they were tired and exhausted and they didn't want to be there.
Move! Get up!
One of them went to hit me with his ice axe. They were prepared to do anything to get me off the mountain.
Go! Keep going!
10 hours since the start of the rescue, Lincoln is losing his battle with hypothermia and cerebral edema. Lincoln finally gives up.
I was able to go no further.
Leave. Just leave.
Barely conscious, the Sherpas push Lincoln on.
The only thing I could do was just to hold on to my commitment to find a way through this.
Get up!
I just had to be able to keep walking, to stay alive. But I was going to do it. I was going to get back so I could get home.
We're close, Lincoln. We're close.
I came around a slight crest in the slope. And I thought, this is it. I'm going to survive.
Watch out!
It was just a flood of relief. But I didn't have any energy left for jubilation.
Hello?
Oh,
Lincoln?
Lincoln's voice was so hoarse, I couldn't believe it was him.
It's okay.
She knew it was me. And that was just the most wonderful moment.
It's okay, baby. I'm okay, I'm fine. I love you too.
I came so close to destroying the family that I loved so much that I vowed that I would never let anything like this ever happen again.
At great personal risk, the Sherpas saved Lincoln's life.
I really wanted them to know that they'd saved my life and that I would be forever grateful.
Lincoln recovered but lost the tips of his fingers and a toe to frostbite. He still rock climbs, but has no plans to attempt any more major peaks. Doctors have yet to understand how he survived so long, with so little oxygen and without shelter, in Everest's death zone. When an innocent day trip goes badly wrong, a family of 4 are stranded in the Arizona desert.
Just a nasty situation that progressively got worse.
Miles from the highway, they must walk out in the burning sun.
This heat is killer, and it kills people every day.
Mama, just shoot me.
Deep in bandit country, how far will one couple go to save their kids?
Run, kids!
I guarantee you, if you're gonna kill my kids, I will shoot you.
Mama!
Yeah, they're all done.
Don't talk with food in your mouth, honey.
Shelley, her 2 children, and new boyfriend Roger are enjoying an afternoon out in the Arizona desert.
My kids both have been raised in the outdoors. Tiffany was attending school, and Michaela had just started kindergarten.
This is an extra special trip. Shelley's boyfriend Roger has just moved in and wants to make sure everything runs smoothly.
What helped the relationship is because the girls really liked Roger.
He was always very, very kind to me.
Hang on, let me get you a nap.
Tiffany, at 9 years old, was always reaching for a father figure.
I was like, okay, I guess we're gonna try to make this work because the kids really like you. You seem like a good dad.
There you go. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, that's it.
The girls are my life, and they have always been my life. And I would do anything for them.
It's a good break to get out in the desert, and it's close enough. You can grab a couple packs of hot dogs and some buns, and we're good to go.
The family have driven from their home 40 miles away.
Okay.
For Roger, it's new territory. But Shelley has been coming to this area since she was a child.
Coming from a family that didn't have a lot of money, the entertainment that we would do as a family is go out in the desert.
The Arizona desert is a vast wilderness, covering 120,000 square miles. It's known as one of the world's harshest environments. But for Shelley and the kids, aged 9 and 5, it's a perfect place to take part in one of their favorite activities.
It's always fun. Every time we go out, it's fun.
Shelley is curious to know how her new boyfriend will get on.
Roger was the kind of guy that worked in an office, in air conditioning. And if things needed done at his house, he would have somebody come over and do it.
Pull. That's my first try.
We were just having a good time. Everything was great.
The day's gone well, but by 4 o'clock, Shelley wants to make sure they get home before dark. At night, the desert becomes a sinister place.
You don't know who you're gonna run into. There's a lot of illegal trafficking.
Shelley's worried about dangers from the nearby Mexican border. Violent gangs patrol the area, threatening anyone in their way.
They'll try to run you off the road, or they'll just run right into you.
But the dangers of the night are far from everyone's mind as they make the 1-hour trip back home.
And the kids are talking, we're laughing and giggling.
Shelley's made the journey many times before.
Shelley knew that desert better than most anybody else that I know. I, on the other hand, I'm from New Jersey.
Today, the family had their picnic somewhere new. Though Shelley knows the desert well, half an hour into their journey home, the landscape looks unfamiliar.
I could tell with the weed growth that it wasn't a well-used path. And I remember this road should be well-used.
Even though she's losing her bearings, Shelley hopes she'll pick up the trail.
But I thought, well, we'll just go up this road, see if it leads to a main road that I'm used to.
But the road becomes more uneven, and it seems they're going further off the beaten track.
We went along till I came to a dry riverbed.
Take a look.
And the sides of it were pretty steep.
I don't think we can make it.
Being in a two-wheel drive truck, your only traction is your back tires.
I says, oh, I'll drive. I'll get us through there.
We'll be out of here in no time.
Hoping he can save the day, Roger takes over.
The bumper got hung up on the downside, leaving the rear wheels off the ground spinning like this.
The family truck is ill-equipped for this type of terrain and is now totally stuck in the sand.
Girls, get out.
Roger has a plan to get them out of trouble.
We gotta get some sticks and stones, put them under that wheel, and maybe we'll get some traction and get out of here.
I didn't really know what was going on at first. I figured they can get it out.
We tried putting more rocks up under the wheels because, keep in mind, the wheels were this high off the ground because the truck was sitting like this.
We didn't have shovels, of course. We're just going out to go shooting, right?
No, stop. It's just smoking. It's gonna catch fire.
No matter what we did, we just couldn't get enough weight on those wheels.
Okay, I'll call for help.
The cell phone that we had, the battery was dead. There was no charger in the truck. I should have just stuck to my decision and says, no, we're gonna turn around here. We're not even gonna try this.
I'd gotten an earful more in that first hour than most people would generally get in a year of being newlyweds.
I'm sorry.
We had enough provisions on that particular day for one day.
With the vehicle stuck and with no way of contacting anyone, Roger knows there's only one option.
We're gonna have to stay the night.
Shelley knows just how dire their situation has become.
From the time the sun sets to the time that sun rises is very dangerous.
I only had one thing on my mind, and that was to get my girls out of that desert.
I don't really remember anybody falling asleep that night.
Armed with their skeet shooting gun, Shelley and Roger stay awake in the fear of lawless gangs of human smugglers from the Mexican border.
Them themselves have no regard for human life, and it don't even matter who it is.
It was just praying to God that the girls would be all right and they wouldn't get hurt or worse.
Relieved when the morning arrives without incident, everyone tackles the day with renewed energy.
We're encouraged, we're kind of energized to say, by gosh, we can do this.
We really thought daylight would help us so that we could see exactly what kind of situation we were in.
With the truck still stuck fast, Roger knows he's got to come up with something to get his new family home to safety.
Why don't you go play with Tiffany for a moment?
My brain started saying, Roger, you better think of something.
There was that truck we passed a while back. It may have a jack.
There was a Bronco that we had passed. The rims were gone. So we decided, well, let's at least try to get to that Bronco, see if it's got a jack in it, and then we can get started again.
It's going to be a 4-mile hike back to the Bronco. And with only 2 small bottles of water, they risk serious dehydration in the ferocious heat.
Are you sure?
I know you're told to stay with the vehicle, and I'm thinking the vehicle has AC. But if we sit there at the vehicle, we're going to be there for days. That road's untraveled.
Even at 7 in the morning, the sun is wearing them down.
We knew it was going to be hot, real hot. Not what most people in civilized countries are used to. Not your 85, 90 degrees. Try between 115 and 118 degrees.
It's particularly tough on the kids. Their lower body weight means they get dehydrated quicker.
Oh, honey.
Oh, every 20 feet, everybody's sipping water, and I'm noticing that there's only one small sports drink bottle left.
Take it easy, Tiff. We gotta make it last.
Tiffany, was already done had enough. And I says, well, let's just get to the Bronco. We'll find the jack and we'll get out of here.
Here goes. We're here.
The combination of extreme heat and having to stop for the kids means it takes them 5 hours to walk just 4 miles to the Bronco.
Okay? You just have a nice long rest. Roger will find the tool.
We started going through everything. Lifting everything up, thinking there's got to be jack in here.
Damn it!
Anything?
Nope.
When there wasn't a jack, I think everybody was like, what are we gonna do?
Roger, Shelley, and the 2 girls are now in serious trouble.
How much water do we have?
We had like 3 inches of water in that Gatorade bottle.
With almost no water, Roger knows if he's to get his new family out of trouble, he needs to take drastic action.
You stay with them, and I'll go get help.
Y'all need to stay in the shade and just count on the fact that I'm going to get back here, because I knew I could make a lot quicker time by myself.
It was the right decision.
I'm gonna go get us some help and...
Leaving is hard, but they're miles from civilization, and he fears the kids won't be able to keep going.
I love you girls.
Probably the toughest thing that I've ever done in my whole life.
I'll be back before you know it, all right?
Give everybody a kiss, and I started on a slow jog, actually.
He was feeling very guilty. I mean, when he walked away from us, he almost was running. And I'm thinking, you can't do this in the heat.
Roger's best chance of help is to find a main road, but he has no idea where he's going. And after just half an hour, he's feeling the effects of the 118-degree heat.
It was not so bad at first, but boy, then you realize that you'd better not be breathing through your mouth anymore, because with every breath of that hot air that you're taking in, you're losing that much moisture in your mouth.
Roger has been following the only path in the vast wilderness of the desert. Now, as he stumbles to a junction, he's faced with a choice. One way leads out, the other takes him deeper into the desert.
There's not much tire tracks. I'm thinking to myself, this definitely is not the way out.
Roger chooses the path with more tracks. With Shelley and the girls depending on him, he can only pray he's made the right decision. As Shelley waits for Roger with her kids, she fears for their survival.
I want to go home.
We were all really getting weak. You have no water. A helpless and almost a hopeless situation.
They've pinned all their hopes on Roger. But 3 miles down the road, he is totally lost.
I slowed down for a second, and I looked at the enormity of that desert. With the sun just blaring down, ruthless on your face.
With no point of reference in the endless terrain, Roger must do everything he can to keep his bearings.
My thought process is that as I find my way out, I darn well better be able to find my way back.
By mid-afternoon, with no sign of Roger, Shelley starts to feel desperate.
Maybe we should go.
What if he comes back, Mama?
We discussed it, because me and my mom are both stubborn.
I said to the girls, if he dies, if we sit right here, we'll never get help. We have got to walk.
Leaving seemed the best choice. But with the sun beating down and 2 children in tow, Shelley soon feels the strain.
Even though you're raised in Arizona and they say that your blood's thinner, a body's still a body. You still get hot.
It's kind of like standing next to a fire, but the fire's above your head, and you can feel yourself being burned. And you're running out of complete energy. There's no more energy left.
Determined to find help before night falls, Roger has now been walking for 8 hours.
The grinding heat and the lack of water is one heck of a combination. You're suffering some serious amount of sunstroke.
In these conditions, the average person needs 2 pints of water per hour. But Roger's had none all day. Out of nowhere, he sees something that could save him.
I thought there must be something.
A cattle trough in the distance could be his lifeline.
I got mad and started picking up rocks and throwing it at the water trough and kicking it and cursing, and that's when I realized that things were not going to get better in a quick hurry here.
Hours after setting off, Shelley and the kids find it hard to cover any distance in the suffocating heat.
Let's go and sit, have a rest.
Until now, there's been no sign of Roger.
I had noticed Roger had started putting cans and bottles and stuff in the trees.
Now they arrive at the same junction Roger passed earlier. But unlike him, Shelley recognizes the landscape.
And I'm like, I know these mountains. If we go straight over those mountains, then home's right over that mountain.
Shelley realizes that Roger has taken the wrong road, the one that leads deeper into the desert. She doesn't know what to do.
Home's that way. But he went to the right, and if he finds help, he's gonna come back the way he walked.
Shelley must decide if her kids will survive the trip over the mountains, or whether Roger will find help first.
Come on. Come on.
She gambles on Roger, in the hope he succeeds.
Our options were not good options. We didn't have a good option in there.
As the afternoon draws on, they become more dehydrated. Without water, the body can't flush out poisons or regulate temperature, causing weakness, headaches, and delirium.
My head was hurting, and it just hurt to walk. I was so thirsty, my tongue was sticking to the top of my mouth, and I would do anything for water.
The thirst, you get so thirsty. If you could have anything in the world, what do you want? A big glass of ice water.
At last, they see something in the barren landscape that could help them. They come across the dumped belongings of illegal immigrants.
Find some water. When the illegals get picked up, they have to leave everything they have, so they fit more in the truck, I guess. So we're looking and looking for water jugs and every backpack.
Do you think all these people died out here, Mama?
Oh, of course not, honey.
Do you think we're gonna die out here, Mom?
In my mind, I'm thinking, I don't think we're gonna make it. But at the same time, you can't express that to your kids.
Nothing.
To be so close to something that you really are in desperate need of, it's just horrible.
Though exhausted, they keep walking. But their thirst is becoming unbearable.
There must be some water in there. There must.
Hours after Roger, they come to the same cattle trough that he passed earlier.
Nothing.
Just have a little rest.
I remember my top lip was stuck to my teeth and it kept driving me crazy, so I'd lick my lips. That didn't even work.
What about the cactus?
Tiffany had suggested that in her class she learned that the roots of cactus hold more water than the actual cactus.
I can feel some moisture.
Oh, I don't think so.
You do have moisture underground, but for liquid, no.
Though the cactus roots are dry, it gives Shelley a flash of inspiration.
I have an idea.
I have always heard cactuses hold a lot of water. If I shoot it, I could probably get some liquid out of it and put in this empty Gatorade bottle.
Sit back.
There's no water. It's almost like a sawdust, like fine wood chips inside it. That's it. There is no liquid whatsoever.
Desperation sets in as they face a night in the desert without water.
That was it. We were done.
Roger knows how dangerous the desert is at night. As the day ends, he can only pray for Shelley and the girls.
I was having a one-sided conversation with Shelley.
Shelley, I'm so sorry.
Telling her that I love her and telling the kids that I love them and that they just need to hang on and believe in me and that I wouldn't let them down. You know? And just praying to God that they were still alive.
Shelley and the kids are facing their second night in the wilderness.
I mean, you're tired. You got dehydration working against you. You've got that you've been up since the night before, and now you're up another night with no sleep.
Come on, girls. We gotta walk.
Weak as they are, they need to make the most of the cooler night temperature of 85 degrees.
If we didn't make as much progress as we could that night, come the next morning, we weren't making it through the next day.
Okay, we'll take a walk, and then we'll rest a bit, okay?
As they ready themselves to go, the silence of the desert is broken.
Tiffany goes, Mom.
Shh, it's a car.
In their relief, they forget all about the dangers of the desert.
I'm like, oh, thank God. We got help. We got help.
Why didn't it stop?
Shelley feels uneasy, and more so when the car turns and faces them.
You could hear the engine just make the noise of when somebody has pushed the accelerator to the floor.
It dawns on Shelley that far from rescue, the driver is a member of one of the notorious gangs of human smugglers from the Mexican border.
Run! Tip, grab Michaela!
I don't know where this energy came from.
I was just running for my life. There was no other thoughts, just, I'm getting out of here.
I guarantee you, if you're gonna kill my kids, I will shoot you.
Shelley's bravado pays off, and at the last moment, the driver veers away.
That person did try to kill us.
Oh, why did he try and run us over?
Come here. No, don't cry.
All these things out there that could have attacked us, the mountain lions, rattlesnakes, and the only thing that messed with us was our own race. Not the wildlife, the human race.
Morning brings a return of the relentless heat, and with it, their chances of getting out alive decrease.
I knew we would not make it through the second day. I already knew that.
Their only hope of survival now is Roger. But he's struggling as he tries anything to quench his thirst.
When I first put the pieces of cactus in my mouth, that was great for a second. Then realizing when the moisture goes away from what's in your mouth, it turns to like a sawdust.
Though disgusting, the cactus has given him a few tiny drops of moisture.
That one cactus saved my butt.
It's been 24 hours now since the girls have had any water. and they too are desperate.
We've kind of lost our mind at this point. We're way dehydrated.
Mama, can I tell you something weird?
What?
In our science class, we were told that you can drink your own pee.
Really?
And I said, oh, that can't be good.
Mommy, I just have to have something. I am so thirsty.
I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, well, we are so thirsty. So I end up peeing in this Gatorade jug.
They badly need to take on liquids. In these conditions, you can lose up to 10% of your body weight through fluid loss. More than that can be fatal.
Yeah, I will never forget the taste. It's absolutely disgusting.
And I'm like, okay, I gotta just do it. I gotta do it. And then I made Michaela.
Drink it. Just wet your mouth.
It's just so sickening. You can never, ever even imagine to bring yourself to do that.
You can almost feel the weight pushing your body into the dirt and the sand. And I wouldn't let him down. I had already let him down enough.
With no sign of help, Shelley makes a last attempt to get attention by starting a fire.
Good girl.
And the sun's getting higher and higher. I'm thinking, where in the world is Roger? He couldn't have made it.
I told you I'd come back, girls.
Roger?
What, Mom?
At last, it seems their prayers are answered.
Roger's here. I heard him.
Really, Mama? Where?
Yeah. Roger! We're here! Roger! Roger! Roger!
He ain't close to us at all. But your mind takes a vacation.
Can you hear him?
Roger, too, is showing symptoms of advanced dehydration. Lack of water stops vital impulses being sent to the brain and causes blurred vision. Now his body is giving up.
There comes a point, and this is when you really know you're in trouble. You stop sweating. Because now there's no moisture left in your body to get out of your pores.
But however tough it is, the thought of Shelley and the kids drives him on.
You think about your family. You can't give up.
At last, Roger's determination seems to have paid off.
I saw a vehicle coming right towards me. I knew that at that time of day, that was not going to be a human smuggler. I knew that. I thought everything was going to be okay then.
Finally, Roger thinks he's found the help that's going to save his family.
Thank God. I'm thirsty. My girls need help.
I hardly talk because there's no moisture, and I'm saying I need help.
Please. Agua. Agua.
What was that, amigo?
The girls.
I think we got ourselves a genuine legal.
No.
Ain't that right, amigo?
No. Please, I'm thirsty. Thirsty.
Thirsty?
Yes.
You want a drink?
Please.
Oh, here we go. See you later, amigo!
Roger's appearance has changed so drastically that he's mistaken for an illegal immigrant.
The most helpless feeling a person could ever have in their life. And I'm like, what else? What else could happen? I knew that Shelley and those kids were running on empty out there.
Now well into their third day, the girls' chances of surviving get less with every step they take.
I kept thinking, I wonder if Roger's made it. Has he passed on? Do I need to keep walking?
Mama, I can't go on no more.
After 2 days without water, the effects of dehydration are causing the children's small bodies to shut down.
Mama, just shoot me. Just please shoot me, Mama.
I really didn't want to live anymore because it was painful.
Sonny.
As soon as she said that, I mean, my heart just sunk.
Come on, my sweetie. We'll do it together.
Just one foot after another, okay, honey?
She just keep pushing us forward.
I knew I had to keep going. I can't lose these kids. I brought them here on Earth. I can't give up.
It's taken Roger 2 days to walk just 13 miles in the suffocating heat. Now he's losing his own battle for survival.
I didn't have anything left in my tank mentally, I think, at that point. I couldn't feel any pain or anything anymore. Everything was just starting to get like a hot numbness.
As Roger gives up all hope, yet again he sees something on the horizon.
That truck came right up the same exact path that the prior one had come, right at me.
Roger?
He'd recognize me because he's calling me by my first name right away.
Against all odds, the driver knows Roger.
And I realize that he's one of my customers from work. It was pretty cool. But very emotional.
Roger is safe. But a few miles away, the girls can't go on anymore. With no shade, all that Shelley can do is bury her kids in the sand to cool them down.
I crawled to her on my stomach, and I'm so weak, and I just start putting dirt on her, and I could never get her covered. She's crying for help, and I can't help her.
It's a last desperate attempt to protect them from the heat. But deep down, Shelley knows it's too late.
Between the cries out for help and wanting to be dead, you never will forget.
When the rescue services arrive, there's still only one thing on Roger's mind.
Sir? The girls and their mother.
He says, we're gonna take you to the hospital. I said, your ass, you're taking me to a damn hospital. I said, I'm getting my family.
They're out there. We gotta.
What girls, sir?
The girls. I can show you where they are. Girls. We gotta find them. Can't you go any faster?
They drive for hours, but there's no sign of Shelley and the girls in the vast wilderness.
I thought their chances were, at that point, probably 50-50 at the best.
Out of nowhere, there's the sound of a car.
Did you hear that?
And I start crawling on my hands and knees.
Please, 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 where?
With as dry of a mouth as I have, you're dehydrated, you're weak, and yelling for all you're worth.
Please, where?
Well, they kept on going. They never looked in the rearview mirror. I was just so dehydrated, I could barely move myself. I didn't cover myself. I just laid there on the dirt.
They're definitely looking for us. And they're gonna come back. We just gotta hang in there.
And there was silence. It's like the bell has rung. This is your last day.
Roger's beginning to lose hope that he'll find the girls alive.
Is this all right?
I didn't know anymore if it was gonna be a rescue situation, and pray like heck that it's not gonna be a recovery situation.
There, that could be them.
At last, the smoke of a fire gives Roger hope that the girls may still be alive.
There, that's their footprints. I recognize them.
Clear as day, I could tell that they were from the girls because Tiffany and Michaela were wearing these sandals that had little circles for the tread. So now I'm really encouraged.
A full rescue team is mobilized, but they're almost out of time. Shelley can do nothing except watch her children die.
And watching them dehydrate, that's memories, that's images that you never forget.
Just as she's given up all hope, she hears a vehicle.
So I came up, and that's when I seen that it was the ranger.
We got help!
So it was right there on the cusp of life and death when we actually did get the help. It was like having the weight of the world taken off your shoulders. Because I didn't have to fight no more.
Oh, my girls. I gotta get them.
My girls.
But the family's ordeal is far from over.
Michaela? Michaela!
It freaked me out.
Mama! Mama! Mama!
I ran up the hill. I had no energy, but I ran up the hill.
Mama! Mama, she's not moving!
I thought, well, in the midst of trying to find somebody to help us, she'd passed away. You go from so excited, we're saved, and then thinking, I didn't do it in time. They kept trying to wake her up. They could not wake her at all.
The trauma has been too much for 5-year-old Michaela, and her kidneys have stopped working.
Not something that you want to see your kids go through, let alone be the cause of.
They had the chaplain come in and pray with us, and I'm thinking, the only time I've ever heard a chaplain coming in, somebody's in the hospital, is when you're gonna lose that person.
I didn't want to lose my sister. She's very important to me.
I woke up and I looked down at my arm and I had an IV in my arm. And I remember looking to the side of me and seeing my mom. I was so happy that everybody was alive.
They say a human can only last out in that desert 8 hours without water. Now, we lasted a lot longer than that. And a lot of that comes from my love for them. And the pure drive to survive.
Michaela left hospital after a week and made a full recovery. Roger and Shelley got married a year later and are still together. David and Leia aren't just father and daughter, they're the best of friends. But when a snowmobile trip goes horribly wrong, 11-year-old Leia finds herself having to do things she never imagined, just to keep them alive.
I knew that I need to find help. I need to send someone to my father, you know, he's hurt.
Miles from civilization, she'll have to brave wild animals and sub-zero temperatures to find help for her father before it's too late.
I felt guilty because I brought her there, and I don't even know if we're gonna make it through that night.
Can you feel your feet?
No.
It's a clear spring morning, and David Hunt is preparing for his annual cross-country snowmobile trip with his 11-year-old daughter, Leia.
Cold, eh?
It was just something that we promised that we would do every year, something together.
Oh, you look at that.
We always had fun together, you know, no matter what, there was never a dull moment.
Mum Barbara and little brother William will be staying at home. This trip is for fathers and daughters only.
Leia and her father had a special bond, I think from the moment she was born. They spent a lot of time together when Leia was younger, whether it was cycling, skidooing, all kinds of things. Her brother, I think, was very jealous about the fact that he wasn't going to go. But I think that Leia really needed to have that one-on-one time with her father.
Keep you nice and warm, don't you?
I love my daughter. She just had an interest to being around her dad, and she'd always want to come and hug me, and Daddy was like everything.
Bye now.
With David working hard through the year, Leia knows it's her one chance to get Dad all to herself.
My father is a workaholic, so when we went on these trips, I knew for sure all his attention would be directed to me, so I was very excited for those trips together.
It's Leia's big day. But with the temperature plunging to minus 22 degrees, David is wondering whether to postpone the trip.
Hey.
That morning, I was a little concerned for the weather because it was very cold outside.
It was one of those mornings where you can like barely stand being outside for 1 second, let alone going on a trip.
So I told Leia, what do you want to do?
I was just so excited to go that I decided to go anyway.
Okay.
I really like snowmobiling, just the fact of having nothing on your mind. You're totally away from everybody, you're away from work. You can just enjoy the scenery and everything around you.
It's so cold outside, but yet you don't feel cold at all because you're having such a blast.
Leia and David are traveling on specially designated snowmobile trails. 30,000 kilometers of frozen freeways, crisscrossing the wilderness. Meticulously maintained by an army of grooming vehicles. The trails offer a thrilling alternative to taking the car between cities.
That morning, we were heading in the direction of my cottage in Mont-Laurier. It's about 700 kilometers away.
The journey will take 3 days, and they're traveling light, with just a small bag of clothes for the hotels they'll be staying at along the way. Tonight, they're aiming for the small town of Saint-Jérôme.
I was concerned because it was around 2:30 in the afternoon, and darkness does come in around 4:35 in the wintertime. Figured around 4:30 we should be at Saint-Jérôme.
David has recently purchased a state-of-the-art, 2-seater Grand Tourer snowmobile, capable of 220 kilometers an hour. But David sticks to the blanket 60-kilometer-an-hour speed limit on the trails. Accidents on these tracks are all too common.
Every year there's maybe 30 or 40 deaths in snowmobile accidents. You could be coming on your trail, nice and slow, minding your own business in a way, and just looking and admiring all the scenery and everything, and you'll come into a corner, and the 3 or 4 machines will just be coming around that corner like they think it's a racetrack. If you get 2 skidoos and 1 skidoo is on your side of the trail by 6-7 inches, forget it. It won't pass. They think it's a racetrack. Like we got Michael Schumacher on the track here, you know, and Jeff Gordon. My trick is not to travel at nighttime. Leave early in the morning and be finished by about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That way there, you know, you won't run into all these people that are just going out for a fast night run.
After 2 hours on the road, they stop for a hot chocolate and check their directions.
You know, I think it's only about another half hour before we get to the hotel.
And I looked at the skidoo map, finding the closest direction to get to Saint-Jérôme. Because what is fun about snowmobiling is if you do want to go in a direction, let's say to my cottage, there's 5 or 6 different trails that you can take to get there. And one of the fun things is that each year you take a new way, so you get to see new things. So I was looking at the map and I told Leia that, look, well, it looks like this trail here is a nice windy trail and everything and all that, and that'll take us to Saint-Jérôme.
Sitting in the heated restaurant has warmed them up. But once outside, they're back in the grip of the ice-cold conditions. The temperature, which hasn't crept above -20 Celsius all day, is now beginning to fall.
It was very, very icy and very, very cold. The wind would blow us. It was incredibly, incredibly cold.
But right now, David isn't worried about the drop in temperature.
I had no concerns on us being very, very cold. The only thing that could go wrong is that if we broke down, but then I figured we'd be able to walk. I had bought brand new suits for me and Leia, so I figured you got the best of equipment, the best for warmth, you got it all, you know, so you might get cold a bit, you're not gonna freeze, you know what I mean? And to get cold a bit, well, that's we don't mind, you know what I mean? It's wintertime, we live in Quebec, you know, you're supposed to get rosy cheeks, you're supposed to get a bit cold.
Leia is already dreaming about her favorite part of their trips, diving into a heated hotel swimming pool.
That was my passion. I loved being in pools. And so the idea of having a heated pool was always very exciting for me.
Leia and David arrive at Saint-Jérôme before nightfall.
Hi there. You have vacancies?
Yes, we do.
Excellent.
And do you have a pool?
Unfortunately, we don't have a pool.
When we entered the hotel, we noticed that they didn't have a pool. And I looked forward to going into their heated pool so much that I convinced my father to go on for another hour until we reached the next hotel where they had a pool.
Like any doting father,
Thank you.
David can't say no to his daughter.
So I looked at the map and I said, well, we're about an hour and a half away. So I figured, okay, Leia, no problem at all, then let's continue. We got about another hour and a half to go.
David knows that snowmobiling at night brings a new set of dangers.
You're not in cities, so you have all these animals to deal with too. If something was to go wrong, you'd rather much be in the daytime than at the nighttime.
In spite of the dangers, David and Leia make good progress.
It was a new trail. We'd never been this way in the snowmobile before, and the trails were very good.
But 30 minutes later, the trail Leia and David are on starts to change. High winds have blown snow in drifts across the track, and the grooming vehicle that should have cleared it has broken down.
The visibility of the trail was very, very bad. You really had to be cautious.
David has to stay focused. Hidden dangers lie beneath the snow. If they drift off the track, they could smash into concealed rocks and branches.
I was just anxious to get out of there in a way and to get onto a better trail and to get to the motel at this point. This wasn't fun.
With the light fading and the trail fast vanishing, David considers his options.
I looked at the map. I saw that if we had to turn around where we were to go to another trail, this would take us 2 hours out of our way and that we would never be able to make it to that motel before 8, 9 o'clock at night.
David faces a major dilemma. lose time turning back for better trails, or carry on through heavy, ungroomed snow.
So I figured, well, if the trail's no good, we'll just go slow. At least it's going to save us time.
David presses on, hoping the trail will improve. But up ahead, a hidden trap awaits them. Metal guardrails, buried by the drifts, lurk just beneath the snow.
All of a sudden, my ski was stuck.
The metal skis are caught on the rails.
And I was just trying to turn the skidoo, and it wouldn't turn.
It's steering them towards the edge of a ravine.
My first reaction was to turn around and take Leia and throw her off. And then I realized... oh my God. That's when I realized that this is gonna really hurt.
When I looked down at him and I saw him in the bottom of the ravine, I guess in that moment I just kind of froze over.
David's snowmobile has crashed into a freezing cold stream, crushing his leg and pinning it beneath the water.
I was very panicky, I was very scared.
Dad! Just get out, please! What's wrong?
Using brute force and every last drop of adrenaline, David has to drag his legs free from underneath the machine. But when he tries to stand...
When he got up, I figured everything was fine, like we were going to walk out of it, until he fell.
I realized that there was something very severely wrong with my knee.
When David crash-landed in the bottom of the ravine, it wasn't just the ice that shattered. Pinned underneath 270 kilos of falling metal, David's knee took the full force of the impact and is now smashed into 15 fragments of broken bone. The slightest movement causes these jagged shards to grind against the surrounding tissue.
It felt like somebody taking a hammer and smashing your knee right against concrete.
Leia!
Throbbing pain I've never experienced before in all my life.
Dad! Dad, please! Just get up!
David needs to get out of the ravine and back to a hospital fast. But with a shattered knee, he can't move.
I couldn't just get up, man, and get out of there.
Dad! What's wrong?
David is now relying on his 11-year-old daughter to get him out.
Dad, I'm coming down.
But with the wind and snow suddenly picking up, it won't be easy.
My father has always been there for me.
Take care.
Now it's my turn to show that I can help him.
Leia's made it, but there's no time to rest. Their best chance of rescue is being spotted by another snowmobile. Unless they can get back up to the trail, nobody will see them.
We were so far down that if a snowmobile drove by, they wouldn't see us, so we had to get up there.
Okay, slow. No, slow.
I tried to pull him, but he's a man. I'm an 11-year-old child, so it was kind of impossible to do.
Okay, again, one more time.
I'm like paralyzed now in a way, you know what I mean? The minute you make any movement, it's a throbbing pain.
Realizing her arms aren't strong enough to pull her father up, Leia braces her body and uses her legs instead.
So I'd grab her leg and I would pull myself up about a foot at a time. Then Leia would back up, brace her hands very well in the snow on each side again, and I'd grab onto that leg that she would put down, and I would pull myself up another foot.
I tried to pull him, and every time he would slip and fall back down.
Every jolt sent shockwaves of pain through David's smashed knee.
I wanted to quit a lot of times, you know? I figured I ain't gonna make it to the top. You know, I can't get up there.
Come on, Dad.
Okay. But Leia didn't want to give up.
I was so determined at that moment. It was like another me that kicked in.
Oh, come on. Doing great, Leia. Oh.
Leia, all 45 kilos of her, manages to help pull her badly wounded father back up to the top of the trail.
Getting out of the ravines was one of the hardest things that I ever had to do. It was with the determination of Leia and the will of Leia that I got out of there.
Oh, good girl. Good girl.
Crucially, Leia's now given them a chance of being spotted by other snowmobilers. But it better happen fast, because with a severely injured leg, soaked to the skin, and beginning to freeze on one of the coldest days of the Canadian winter, David is unlikely to survive a night in the open. Exhausted after his climb, David checks out his shattered knee. Crushed by the impact of the crash, the pain is excruciating.
That's when I really realized how severe my knee was smashed and broken. I didn't know it was filling up with blood.
Internal bleeding could cost David his leg and his life. He knows they need to get help before it's too late. Then he remembers he has his mobile phone. If it works, he can alert the rescue services and get them out of here.
I ever go on big trips, I always take a cell phone. You get in an accident, you get stuck, that's what a cell phone is for. There's no reception, no signal. Up there, the only phone that would have worked is a satellite phone.
David and Leia are all alone. The temperature is dropping. They're 11 kilometers from the next town. And with nighttime fast approaching, it's unlikely any other snowmobiles will pass by.
Well done.
Still wet from his fall in the river, David is freezing. But right now, he's more concerned about his daughter.
Where's your glove?
That's when I could see Leia. Leia had lost one of her gloves.
Put that on. That on.
I had one left, the other one I threw off when I was in the water, and I gave that glove to Leia and I told her to put that on her hand.
In these conditions, any exposed skin is vulnerable. And by giving Leia his glove, David is risking losing his hand to frostbite. Despite the condition of the trail and the worsening weather, David tries to convince himself that someone will come and save them.
Now it's almost dark time. I'm sure there's people around here that travel back and forth to go to work on their skidoo, or after supper they'll go for a ride. So within an hour or two, a skidooer will go by and they'll pick us up.
But David's optimism is at odds with all the evidence.
I was thinking, man, it's getting colder and colder and colder. Now the sun's gone away, the night's coming in, the wind is just howling and howling.
And the cold isn't the only threat the darkness brings. These woods are home to wolves. Beasts more than capable of killing an injured adult and a small girl.
The wolves were making noise, they were howling, the wind is howling.
I'm thinking, this is not just a snowmobile accident. I'm gonna get eaten by a bunch of wolves.
Leia is cold and terrified. With his smashed knee, David can't lead her to safety. But he might be able to keep them warm and safe from predators.
Listen, Leia. Look. Okay. We're gonna make a fire.
Leia said, well, I'll get some dead branches. I figured we'll have a bit of light, people will see us, and we'll have a fire to stay warm.
You got some? I'll go back and get some more.
I would bring him branches and he would create a fire using our map.
Hoping they'll be rescued soon, David burns the one thing that could help them navigate their way out of the forest.
Come on, Leia, they're gonna need some more branches soon.
For the first time since they crashed, David and Leia feel some warmth. The fire should also keep any wolves at bay.
Starting to look better now, at least, you know, things are looking up.
But keeping the fire going proves a challenge.
The branches that she could break were like an inch and smaller.
I got some more.
So by the time she'd go and get more and come back, it was burnt.
I would be running back and forth. Every time I would come back to enjoy the fire, it would be out again.
Listen, still good, honey.
David soon realizes that making the fire is a futile exercise.
This isn't gonna work.
I told her, no, forget about that.
You're gonna have to stay in. Keep close.
The wind is blowing so fast, too. It's hard to make a fire.
Dad.
As the last flames die away, the icy wind and sub-zero temperatures sting David and Leia. The cold is now as much a threat to their lives as any predator. And unless they can stay warm, the forest will become their grave. David thinks of one last option.
What I want you to do is to go back down to the snowmobile. Real slowly.
My father suggested that I empty one of our nap packs that we had and take a few sweaters and a few blankets and whatsoever to be able to put on our hands and our feet.
The problem is that the snowmobile is half submerged in the creek. If Leia falls in trying to get to the bags, the icy water could send her into cold shock. And with David unable to move, he won't be able to help her. But it's a risk they have to take.
Good girl. Go nice and slow.
It was very frightening because it was very dark. I went down the slope that I had made to the snowmobile.
I made it, Daddy!
Yeah.
My foot went through the ice and went about to my knee. I was not worried. My father seemed worried, and I was kind of wondering why.
Unable to reach the bag, Leia decides to head straight back to her father, leaving behind the clothes that could have kept them warm.
Good girl.
As they huddle for warmth, Leia doesn't tell her father that her boots are filled with ice water from the stream.
My feet were freezing at that point. Really, really, really cold.
Unless warmed up, her feet are at major risk of frostbite. But it's her dad she's most concerned about.
His face looked so pale and he was dripping sweat. It worried me to see my father looking like that. It worried me a lot.
Despite the freezing cold, David is boiling up. The pain of his smashed knee is raising his blood pressure and causing his body to sweat. If that moisture freezes inside his suit, he'll become a prime candidate for hypothermia. As his temperature drops, so will his heart rate, and eventually, he'll fall into unconsciousness. He needs to be taken to a hospital immediately, but stuck in the middle of nowhere, it's not looking likely.
Nobody was coming. You know, it didn't look good at all. I don't want my daughter beside me if I'm gonna freeze and die.
With 8 hours till dawn, and the temperature still dropping, David makes a decision.
You're gonna have to go and get help, okay?
When my father told me to leave to go find help, I was incredibly shocked. I didn't know what to do at that moment.
You're right here. Okay?
She didn't want to leave me there, you know? She wanted to stay with me.
Girl.
I said, you have to, Leia. I said, you can't stay here with me. You stay here with me, you could pass away, I could pass away. We freeze here tonight.
Off you go.
I was scared that he would be left by himself. But I knew that I wanted to rescue my father.
Leia sets out alone, determined to find help and save her father.
So she got up and she started walking. I literally felt helpless. And then that was the last that I saw Leia. Leia left.
As soon as I left him, the fear kicked in. I realized that I was all by myself now. I was outside in the dark, in the woods by myself. I was very, very nervous, very scary.
Limping, after her earlier fall through the ice, Leia heads deeper into the forest.
My father told me to not get off of the path.
After burning their map to light a fire, she has no way of knowing if she's going in the right direction.
I noticed a sign that said, "Beware of animals." I was very, very scared when I saw that sign. As soon as you go into an area where it's all bushed, you can't see anything. All I could hear was these wolves howling, branches breaking, and, you know, things moving. All these things really, really were frightening me.
Back at the crash site, David can't stop thinking about Leia.
I was so worried after she left. I was thinking, you know, all kinds of stupid things that could happen to her.
He's right to be afraid.
I could hear a bunch of wolves. At that moment, I was petrified.
Desperate to get out of the dark woods, Leia looks around for an escape route.
I saw a path that led to a lake. And on the lake. It was very open and I could see some lights. So right away I got hope because I figured there has to be somebody there.
But to reach the light, Leia will have to walk straight over the lake.
I knew my father would be upset if I went onto the lake because it's very dangerous. Tons of things could happen.
Leia has already fallen through ice once, and the thought of having to cross a frozen lake at night terrifies her.
What if the ice breaks? I kept going anyway, just trying not to think of it.
Leia heads towards the light. Every step she takes runs the risk of plunging her through the ice and into the frozen water below.
All I kept telling myself is, I'm almost there. There's light. There has to be someone.
But when she finally reaches the far side of the lake, there's a shock in store.
As I got closer, I noticed that the only way that I would be able to get to that light was if I climbed a steep, straight hill that was impossible to reach. At that moment, I started to yell and yell and yell and just scream out,
Help! Please, can you hear me? Please help!
If anyone is there, they cannot hear her, and she cannot climb up the steep bank to get closer.
Help! Please help me!
I was very, very depressed at that moment.
11-year-old Leia has walked through the dark forest and across a frozen lake that could have taken her life, all to save her father. But it's been in vain. At the crash site, David's core body temperature is plummeting, and he's just hours from death.
Finally, I heard a voice, so I started to yell back.
Leia!
It was my father's voice.
Leia heads in the direction his shouts are coming from.
Daddy!
It's been 3 hours since David last saw his daughter, and hearing her voice breathes new life into him.
When I heard Leia calling out my name, it was like a sigh of relief that I knew that she was still alive.
Daddy!
I'm here! Over here! It's okay. It's okay.
Despite all her efforts, Leia and David are back to square one.
I was happy to hear her, and I was happy to see her again. But on the other hand, I was very unhappy that she didn't make it and that she wasn't already a nice warm place and everything else, that she would have to stay here now with me in the freezing cold weather.
It's okay. We're gonna be okay.
Leia can see that her father's condition has worsened.
He didn't look well, he really didn't. He was trying to hide it. It was very much worrying me a lot.
Body sweat, caused by the pain of his knee injury, is freezing against David's skin. And with the wind chill dropping the temperature to -27 Celsius, his heart rate is slowly falling. Back at home, David's wife Barbara is worried. She's been expecting a call from them since lunchtime.
Come 9 o'clock that night and they still hadn't called, I had this really bad feeling in my stomach that something was not right. So I telephoned the police And the police said there wasn't anything they could do until they'd been missing for 24 hours.
Okay, thank you.
I was just totally devastated.
At the crash site, David has given up any hope of rescue.
I didn't think there was another skidoo coming. But it was too cold of a night, for one. Very, very blowy. The trails were so bad. Who's gonna want to go out in that? You wanted that wind to stop. It was just getting worse and worse. Darker and darker. Colder and colder. And I could see up in the trees, and it was blowing all the snow off of the trees and blowing it all onto us and blowing it everywhere. And it was just the noise. It was a noise that I wanted to stop.
Although badly injured himself, David is more worried about his daughter.
She was cold, and I was cuddling her up. She was shivering and shivering and wouldn't stop. I was trying to get her as warm as I could.
But one part of Leia's body, which was freezing cold, is now beginning to feel warm. Her feet.
My feet weren't cold whatsoever at that moment. They were kind of actually numbed.
It's gonna be okay.
Her feet are also swelling. Combined with the lack of sensation, it's a sure indicator that Leia is developing acute frostbite. The cold has frozen the fluid in her skin cells, creating ice crystals. These cells have ruptured, causing her feet to swell. Now, the blood supply is not reaching the damaged skin, and the nerves in her toes are slowly dying.
Every 15, 20 minutes, I'd just be patting on her side, and I'd see that she'd move. I didn't want to wake her up, but I wanted to make sure she was always alive.
David has tried to stay strong for Leia. But now, one thought goes round and round in his head. Has he just led his young daughter to her death?
I felt guilty because I brought her there. It was a living nightmare for her. There's no way that Leia deserved this. So if there was anything that I could do for this to turn around and be different, I would do that in a flash. But I can't. I was worried that if I fell asleep, that I would just not wake up. I didn't want Leia to wake up and for me not to be there. We gotta survive. We gotta survive no matter what. I was very, very relieved that the sun was coming up.
Against all the odds, David and Leia have survived one of the coldest nights of the year in one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth.
We did it and we survived, and I just thank God for watching over us, you know.
But when Leia goes to get up, there's a shock for both of them.
My feet.
Holy jeez. She had ice all around her boots.
Can you feel your feet?
No.
Balls of ice have formed around her feet, which now prevent her going anywhere.
Move your feet. You can't feel them?
No.
Okay.
David grabs a metal signpost out of the snow to chop away the ice.
I was holding the wood part of it, and I was chopping with the aluminum part of the sign.
As David breaks up the ice, curiously, Leia feels nothing.
My feet were so numb, I didn't feel anything whatsoever. All I could feel was him hacking at it.
The fact that Leia cannot feel her feet is a very bad sign. The nerve endings in her toes have died. She doesn't know it, but she's in the advanced stages of frostbite. Despite the damage, she can stand. Now David wants her to leave him and save herself before they freeze to death.
Gotta go back to the trail from last night, okay? It's the only way. It's gonna be okay.
Either she leaves now on foot to go to get help, or we die here.
I love you, Daddy.
I said to Leia, when you're walking, just believe in your heart, Dad is with you. So you walk and you leave and you get to the town, I'll be good.
Dragging her numbed feet through the snow, Leia heads out once more to find help.
I was in pain at that point. I was not comfortable at all.
Back at the crash site, David knows that even if Leia finds help, it might not arrive in time to save him. He has to try and walk, or die here in the forest.
After Leia left, I figured that I'm gonna go that way too. I'll try and follow her.
Come on!
Although his knee is shattered, David summons the courage to stand up.
I grabbed that post and I made it up. I just fell down and was unconscious.
An hour into her walk, Leia spots a derelict building in the snow up ahead.
As I went up the hill, I noticed a little lodge. So I walked up to it and I noticed that it was a little cabin or something, maybe for fishing or hunting. I was so disappointed because I wish I would have seen it the night before and I would have been able to drag my father towards it or something so that we could have gone in it, you know? So I was very disappointed at that moment.
As Leia pushes on, she starts to worry that she'll never find help.
I felt like I was not getting anywhere. When you're in the woods like that, often it all looks a bit the same.
Leia doesn't know it, but now every second counts in the race to find help. Her next decision, to go left or right, could seal her father's fate.
As I was walking, I reached the point where I had turned off the night before to go into the lake. I remember my father told me it's very important to always stick to your right, he told me. No matter which way the trail gives you an option, always go right.
Leia goes right, hoping that the path will take her towards the town and the chance to save her father. David's body is shutting down. Hours later, a family on a snowmobile trip spot David's body in the snow. David has clung to life.
My daughter!
Now his only thoughts are for Leia.
My daughter!
He said that Leia had been found and that she was going to be taken to Saint Jerome Hospital. It was a sigh of relief that we succeeded. We made it. You know, we're not going to die here. It's not our time.
Honey.
Incredibly, Leia and David are rescued just a few hours apart. Leia walking into a nearby town on her badly damaged feet.
I was so happy. I was crying. I was so happy. It was like I started breathing again.
Leia and David survived their ordeal, but sustained lifelong injuries. David underwent reconstructive surgery on his shattered knee. But Leia's injuries were more severe. Partial amputations of both her feet were necessary after suffering acute frostbite.
I really do feel lucky to be alive. The doctors thought that I would have been amputated close to my knees, and I managed to be able to keep both of my heels, so I'm incredibly lucky for that. And I thank God every day for it.
For her incredible actions in saving her father's life, Leia was given the Star of Courage, one of Canada's highest awards for bravery.
Just 11 years old and being told to go for help and not hesitating for one moment. She's the bravest person I know.
I would have never got out of there without Leia. Never, ever. It was Leia that saved my life. She's my hero, you know? She's everything to me, that girl.